It is now my privilege to introduce the 2026 Commencement Address speaker, Mr. Dan Faill, an alum from 2002. However, rather than listing off awards or accolades that most of you will tune out, here are some fun facts about him. Before stepping foot on campus as a student, Dan attended basketball games with his family at Trask Coliseum, though the team wasn't quite as good as this year's Seahawks team. He appeared in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Secret of the Ooze, which was filmed here in Wilmington. He also may or may not have skipped class to be in Dawson's Creek when it was filmed on campus. Dan is also a third-generation Seahawk and walked across our stage with his grandfather and cousin in the same year. As an accomplished storyteller and international speaker, Dan incorporates his own lived experiences and blends industry-proven research to craft relatable engagements for audiences. Having worked for nearly 20 years in higher education, advocating for safe and positive student experiences and communities, Dan engages audience in hard but needed conversations, creating spaces that engage and inspire us to be our authentic selves and be brave enough to have the conversations that matter. Please join me in welcoming fellow Seahawk alumnus, Dan Faill.
Okay, good afternoon, good evening, faculty, staff, administrators, families, and especially almost graduates. I'm so thankful for the opportunity to fly in from Los Angeles to have lunch at Dockside tomorrow with my mom for Mother's Day. Don't worry, she's here somewhere, but don't worry, Mom, I did not bring home too much laundry for me to do while I'm here, while I'm home. I also love being back in this place, back home, though I must say I have not missed the humidity whatsoever. It's also beyond a privilege to be on this stage with you fine people, where I was about 24-ish years ago. I'm also overjoyed to receive an honorary doctorate as part of this experience, which is just so cool. Hey, Dr. Olson, that's not a thing. I don't get the hat. So, that's not awkward at all. Well, then let this be my first lesson, especially to you graduates, to read all contracts before you agree to anything. Even still, I am humbled and honored to be here this evening. You see, being a Seahawk runs in my blood. My dad is the class of '80, my mom's the class of '89, and like it was said from the provost, I walked across this same stage with my cousin and my grandfather in 2002. And maybe, fingers crossed, my daughter or my son might get to put their own wings up here in a few years. Because there is truly something special about UNC by the Sea, and I hope that they get to experience this too. And just like you all, I get to be here. I get to be here with you today. I get to be with you as a proud alum. Just like I got to attend class, got to start a fraternity, got to serve the Student Government Association, got to welcome people at the Seahawk Perch, got to serve as an orientation leader, I got to perfect the art of walking backwards and talking to strangers while serving as a tour guide. I also got to experience weekends at the beach, weeknights downtown, late nights, early sunrises full of laughs and friends. I got to have those experiences because I wanted to have them, not because I had to have them. Just like you got to be here too. Having had memories and classes and nights full of fun and heartache and love and friendship and everything that comes along with being human and growing into yourself. So you see, attending UNCW is a privilege. It's something you get to do. It's not something you had to do. Just as you get the chance to make a difference in this world. You don't have to, you get to. You see, you have an opportunity, a responsibility, the ability to respond to what's going on. You see, comm studies gave me the skills on how to use my voice, but it was up to me to find my voice and then determine how I get to use it. And honestly, being up here for this auspicious occasion, I feel like I'm supposed to talk about something like legacy or something, woo-woo. We throw around big concepts like that at times like this because it seems like that's what we're supposed to do. But I've never really been good at doing something just because that's what you're supposed to do. I'm sure some of my former professors would back that up. So rather than giving you inspirational thoughts on musings on legacy or any of that, I want to talk about something more important and far more common: failing. And take it from me, I might know a thing or two about failing. After all, Faill is my last name, not just a euphemism. You see, when I came to UNCW, I declared theater as my major. I knew I wanted to be an actor, and I knew I wanted to see my name in lights in Hollywood. And at the time, Wilmington was the hot spot for TV series and movies to be filmed. But after my first semester, I changed my major. So part of figuring out what you want to do in life is figuring out what major you want. And in terms of changing my major, I did that because I had a professor in theater who said I would never make it because my eyebrows were too expressive for the silver screen. So I changed out of acting to undeclared. Didn't know what I want to do. I just knew one thing to be true. I did not want to work in a cubicle. And to date, I've only worked in a cubicle for 11 months because I quit that job. What's funny and pretty ironic about all of that is that my son and I did a HelloFresh commercial a couple of years ago. I know it's a very LA statement to make, but go with me, okay? And there was a close-up where the scene where the director had to film and then refilm over and over. Why? Because the eyebrows were, in fact, too expressive. So I guess there is something to be said for those professors that do know what they're talking about, even if you don't agree with them at the time. Now, some could say that changing my major was a failure in who I thought I wanted to be. Others might jokingly say I was just living up to my last name. I'd agree with both. Maybe it's just stubbornness of growing up with the last name Faill that made me not want to view failing as the end-all be-all for life, because failure is rarely the end. Shoot, my mom used to tell me that C's get degrees, and she's an alum from here. Somewhere in here. Sorry, Mom, I love you. Fellow parents in the audience, how well do you think you've done letting your kids fail? How often do we want our kids to be successful only to become the helicopter or the lawnmower parents, mowing down any obstacles to make sure our kids are set up for success? I mean, I know that I am guilty of it for my two teenagers at times, but I also tell them that C's get degrees, failure is a part of life, and life goes on. Because failure is rarely the end. Unless you let yourself become complacent in your failures, that nagging little lie that you'll never do more or be something else. Fun fact, you will never be who you think the world wants you to be, because the world isn't thinking about you. Sorry for that truth, y'all. Because it's about what you believe. Now let's take a quick moment and think about that word believe. B-E-L-I-E-V-E. B-E-L-I-E-V-E. Even in the word believe is the word lie. Which begs the question, what are those lies that we end up telling ourselves and end up believing? If you failed an assignment or a relationship, that doesn't mean that you're a failure. No, that means you failed at something. It means you're human. We usually equate failing to being something bad. But what if I told you that you've all failed at some point? You've all failed at some point in your lives so far. Think about it this way. How many of you have hit the snooze button at some point in the last week? Just a few. Okay, right. That's a failure to wake up on time, okay? How many of us set a New Year's resolution only to realize that we didn't set the right resolution? Or think about it another way. You weren't born able to walk, able to form coherent sentences. We failed through each of these as we grew up. And regardless, you get to fail. Just like you get to learn from a lesson, from failing, and you get to try again or try something new. So welcome, fellow failures, to this beautiful thing called life. You're in good company. A somewhat famous person said, "I would rather fail with integrity than succeed in mediocrity." That person was me just now. But I would rather fail with integrity, knowing that I did the best I could with what I had at the time rather than succeeding in mediocrity. Because it's easy to choose safety, not getting wrapped up in conflict or the comparison game. It's easy to look around and compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. But that's not a Seahawk. A Seahawk does not concern itself with the thoughts of pigeons. Or in our campuses say squirrels or geese. But we don't need to concern ourselves with the thought of others because we get to soar. But you cannot soar until you take the most important step, which is the next one. To the future educators from the Watson College of Education, you have my appreciation and my admiration. As someone who has worked, yes. As someone who has worked in higher education for about 20 years, the work ahead is truly imperative. We need more critical thinkers, willing to examine the world with fresh eyes, willing to never let go of the kindergarten questions of why and but why. From student teaching to make a difference in future generations, you will leave an impact on our world, and I thank you for the work that you will do, the work that you get to do. You see, education, humanities, social sciences, the arts, these are the most important fields of study and are so incredibly important in today's landscape. We teach humans how to be people, how to actually experience the journey and not just focus on the destination. You get to do that, and there's some badass power in being able to do so. Ladies and gentlemen of the class of 2026, fellow future, almost Seahawk alumni, I challenge you to show up, not only for your life, but the lives of those you get to impact. I challenge you not to accept the conditions of your life, but know that you get to create them. I challenge you to try, to fail, to try again, ask why, be curious, show up for others, show up for yourself. I challenge you to remain steadfast in what you believe and use the skills that you've learned here to soar towards excellence. Yes, there will be mistakes. Yes, there will be failures, and there will be a tomorrow. I'd love for you to lean into a WTF attitude. And by that, I don't mean like I don't mean that. I mean, be more willing to fail. In essence, I challenge you to FAFO, fail a lot and find out. Fail into learning. Fail into love, fail into careers, fail into something more because you get to do that. Thank you for being a Seahawk. Thank you for your time and congratulations, graduates. Thank you.